Before we kind of switch to some other issues, were you pissed at Bob when he interviewed for the Davis Cup captaincy without you?
I was actually right there with him. I thought he would be perfect for the job. You know, I was actually kind of urging him to do it. You know, he looked at the list of applicants, and you know, it was like Brad Stein, Gil. It was a long list of people, and he didn't really want to like go through the whole process of interviewing for months. And I kind of pushed him there. I would say, Bob, when you, but I said, if you do it, maybe bring me along. I'll be the assistant massage therapist, help you out.
So full circle, Bob. I know that there's pictures floating around of you guys at Davis Cup ties when you're young. Changed my world. I saw the Dallas final in '92. I think we've all been very outspoken about the effect it had on us. Is that effect the same? And do you feel a big responsibility to kind of make sure that Davis Cup has the same impact as it had on us? And is that possible now?
Yeah, that's the challenge, right? We're missing some of those opportunities to inspire those young kids, the next Andy Roddick. You were at the matches. We all saw these young guys like Opelka, Francis Tiafoe, when they're little 11, 12-year-olds at these Davis Cup matches. We're not going to have a home tie here in the States. It's going to be 3 years, I think, come next year. That's a lot of missed opportunities to, you know, bring tennis to smaller markets, yes, but also inspire people like us. So, yeah, I want to keep Davis Cup in the forefront. We loved it. I know we all had this shared goal. You wanted that on your resume. We were talking about it January 1st, all of us. We didn't stop talking about it until we'd won the cup, honestly. And we looked forward to these weeks. I mean, look, we were playing poker. We all had a great time in the hotels, hanging out together, going out after the matches, enjoying those wins. And the atmospheres were insane, Andy. I mean, we were playing in front of 15,000 fans. We had the F-16s flying over, pyrotechnics, the drum lines running out, Darius Rucker singing the national anthem. You know, these are goosebump moments where our knees are actually knocking while we're in the line. Listen to the anthem. There was nothing like that. I would love to see it come back and get to that stage. But I think we have guys that are committed to playing, and they want to win this cup. But yeah, they're not talking about it right now. I can guarantee you it's a little different than when we were around.
I mean, we went to sorry, Andy. We went to Croatia right after the U.S. Open, and we went over there and we played at a neutral site against these, you know, great teams, right? Like Netherlands. We played against Finland and Croatia, and there were 5 American fans. And you bring a guy over like Francis Tiafoe, who just played a night match on Arthur Ashe Stadium in front of 22,000 American fans. So it's really hard for these guys to get up for it. And they know the next week they're flying over to Vancouver to play the Labour Cup. So it's a lot to ask schedule-wise, but also you'd want these guys to be in these atmospheres where it's exciting. So it's a little bit different, and we got to bring that back to Davis Cup, I think.
How does that happen in its current format, or does it not happen in its current format?
We got to get out of the group stage. We take it to Malaga, hopefully get some excitement in the press, bring over a team of fans. We had those net heads that would come over in hundreds, you know, at awesome. Sevilla. Like there was 27,500 Spanish fans, but we could always look at our net heads, you know, to go nuts for us. Dude, that Sevilla, that was incredible, because I remember that night, the Thursday night before the match, we were almost celebrating when they pulled out Juan Carlos Ferrero, the French Open champion, number 2 in the world. And they were substituting in a teenager named Rafael Nadal, who I think, beat at the U.S. Open 3-4-0 a couple months before. We were all like, oh my God, they're idiots. I can't believe they're putting in Nadal.
Yeah, Roddick will never lose to Nadal on clay. That was dumb of them.
we thought we had a chance. And then, Marty had that short forehand against Moya and went for his head, and the crowd booed for like 30 minutes. That kind of changed a little momentum. And then against Nadal, I felt like Nadal became Nadal in that match in front of his home fans. And you were so disappointed that you had lost to the greatest clay court player of all time that when we got home and we got our check in the mail, it was like 3 times as big. You sent us your prize money. I don't remember if you realize or remember that. You sent us your money. You said, give it to the Bryans. I didn't earn it. I mean, we kicked it back to your charity, but I don't think you would have given away your prize money had you known this guy would have won 14 French Opens.
Well, I can actually make you a very honest man right now. We played them again in 2008 after Rafa had won, I think, 4 straight French Opens, and I didn't send you guys after that one.
No.
I don't think Mike was there for that one, so he certainly wasn't getting any money. But I wasn't giving any money away after that one. I felt like I earned my beating in 2008, whereas I let one slip in 04,
I think you had one set that went to 6-4, and we were like celebrating that night. We're having a couple drinks, and you're like, yeah.
Do you guys? This is a side tangent, but do you want to hear one of the most depressing moments of my life, real quick?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, so Bob was there. Or was it Mike? Mike, did you play that second one? Or it was Bob and Marty?
I played with Marty Fish. Bob was having his firstborn child, Michaela.
That's right. Okay, that's what it was.
And we played in the Plaza del Toro in that bull ring.
That's right. Yeah. And so it was you guys won double. You guys always won doubles. It didn't matter, who was playing with what. It's like the undersold part is like you guys could just play, and it was great. But in 2008, I remember the Sunday I was playing. I had lost to Ferrer in 5 sets the first day. I think I was down 2 sets and then came back and then lost. It was brutal. And then the morning, so I wake up the morning on Sunday in Spain, and you look out the window and you're going to play Nadal on clay. So I kind of like open like this, and I look out, and it's gray and raining, and I'm like, this sucks. This is a bad beat. I do not need to be playing on him. On anything slower or muddier. So I go warm up, and then they have that like live grainy feed into the locker room where you can see like center court. So I had warmed up, and then all of a sudden I see a wheelbarrow going out onto the court, right? I'm like, what the is that wheelbarrow? And a shovel, and some guy has a shovel, and he's just shoveling clay onto the court, and the other guy's patting it down. I'm like, so the rain, the general goatness of him on clay, I felt like half embarrassed because they were paying so much attention to me for this match when they really didn't need to. I was going to go out and be a dumpster fire anyways. It was a complete suicide mission.
But those were the fun things about the home and away. I mean, when you play on the road, they're going to play us on the slowest, soupiest dirt. I remember Belgium, like they threw dirt down into that indoor arena, and the court wasn't even hardened. The ball was like an explosion. It was like that Powerade commercial that you did. The ball would like stick in the court. It was real. And I think we got a fortunate call. And I remember the Pistone, our security guys, the brothers, running us out of there because that whole place was going to come down on us after we won that match.
It was the single worst call I've ever been the beneficiary of. The one that you're referencing. And I remember walking up to like correct it. And I remember you all and Patrick yelling at me, turn the around, go back. So I ended up breaking, and we got producer Mike, like literally we were playing, it's probably only 2,500 people. It wasn't like the biggest stadium ever, but it was like we were going to be relegated, and we win. But they called an overhead out that was maybe 6 inches inside the line. And I had corrected a call earlier that year and given a match away. And so I start walking up, and my entire bench just starts yelling at me. It's not about you. Move, get back. So anyways, we closed it out.
We needed every point against that little guy, Rokas. He was a magician.
Pound for pound?
Day. Yes.
Pound for pound, one of the best. Didn't he win? He won the French Open in doubles too.
Yep, with Melise.
He could stripe it, man. Anyways, we held serve, and we get trash thrown on us as we're leaving. Like they start throwing things. Like I mean, that was a weird situation.
Davis Cup journey came full circle in Portland. I still feel like that's the highlight of our career. Winning the Davis Cup at the Rose Garden in front of a packed crowd. We played the Russians. It was like a Rocky movie. And I remember you got it done and James got it done on the first day. So Bob and I had the opportunity to clinch for the country. And when I was serving out the match, I looked over, I saw how emotional you were on the sideline. You were already crying. And getting it done, kind of the elation. We piled up on the court, took it out late to the clubs. I think we had like a 4 a.m. morning. I
Oof.
remember you tapped me on the shoulder at like 4 a.m. I think you were drenched in sweat. You'd been dancing all night, and you said, "Hey, guess what? You're playing the dead rubber tomorrow. There's live on the tennis channel. You're playing." And then I walk over. I see Bob in the corner. I tap him. I'm like, "Guess what? You're playing the dead rubber." And we had this big battle that night, and we actually ended up calling my parents, and then they voted. They're like, "Okay, he's usually been the singles horse. Bob's got to do it." And then I think I pulled an all-nighter with you. Bob had to get some sleep, and played Andreev the next day.
So that went from the best night of my life to the worst night of my life. You guys threw me to the wolves the next day. You might have had a few too many to drink. I don't think you could have passed the breathalyzer test.
Oh no!
On Sunday to play that match. I mean, we had that Davis Cup. I remember we were filling it with booze.
I'm sure I don't know what you mean. I don't understand.
The beer Olympics.
The beer Olympics was good.
Remember,
too.
you had the beer Olympics in Austin. I remember that. We got the invite.
I remember all of my bad decisions. I'm not proud of this moment. I feel badly talking to you now, Bob, especially because you came on this podcast so nicely. So the Davis Cup, I remember I was the nerviest I was I think I was confident that I could beat Torsnov. I think that the popcorn match of that weekend was probably James against Yuzny first up. Yuzny was a really good fast court player. We basically built the fast court for you guys. I think you guys liked slower courts more than we did, but specifically in that matchup, I think who they throw in, like, that was a great court for you all in that final. But when James beat Yuzny, I was really happy because obviously you guys, I was very confident. More like you guys were always like super nervous, and I was always super not nervous when you guys were going in. And I guess that's the nature of sports. But I think it was fitting. We've talked about how I kind of came up short a lot in those Davis Cup ties when we were trying to get to the finish line. But I think it was fitting that you all had it on your rackets to close it out and to close out the shared goal. You were the dominant force. For that
we
team.
didn't have many times to clinch. I think you were 14-0 in clinching fourth rubbers. Like, so when we felt like when we teed you up, you knocked it down all the time, and we were very nervous, like we always were for Davis Cups. It's you're playing for your country, but really you're playing for your brothers. We're taking over 20 people, national team, security, massage therapists, stringers, and you become buddies and friends and blood brothers with all these guys, and you don't want to let them down. They're relying on you to step up. So around Wednesday, our match was Saturday, I really couldn't even talk anymore. I was just in my own head. I think the most nervous we ever were was the 2003, our first Davis Cup match, because you'd been on the team for a couple of years leading up. Pat Mack, he was a little scared to pick us because there's only a 4-man team. He didn't want to have half the team be doubles players. What happens if you rolled your ankle on Friday? So he actually told us that you got to be number one in the world. You got to win a Grand Slam. You got to be a shoo-in to play. So he invited us to the Slovakia match. It wasn't an easy match. It was a relegation tie. Had we lost that, we're going to Jamaica. The next year we're playing Let's with, no doubles alleys or something. But Pat said, "Hey guys, you guys are our team. You're a team for years. Don't worry about this one." But we knew, like, if we lost that one, we're done. And I remember we came out so jacked. We were bouncing around like crazy people. And Mike whispered to me at the end, we're up 2-0. He whispered to me at the end of the third set. He's like, "Hey, I'm cramping." I'm like, "Wait, we're indoors. It's doubles. How are you cramping?" He's like, I felt a twinge in my calf. And then we get to the breaker. He's like, "Dude, I'm full body cramping right now. Just from the nerves, the anxiety, the whole buildup, our first Davis Cup match, he's full body cramping. It's 1-1, one match all." And he's like,
I had come off the US Open and I put you guys in a terrible spot because I lost my first match of that tie to her body.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yeah, you did. And Mike said, "We got to finish it here." So I remember we have match point. Mike somehow fights a return over the net. A ball goes short in front of Mike. He can't move. I run in front of him. I hit a forehand. Winner. We end up winning. I come in for the chest bump. He gets like 1 inch off the ground. He's sideways. And my hip hits him right in the forehead. And anyway, it was an amazing moment. That was actually the cover of Tennis Magazine back in the day.
I remember that.
It's a weird shot because I'm flying in and Mike can't barely use credit card hops. Yeah. And but that was our first one. And then Pat, trusted us and we became the team. But I felt like we needed to get it done that day. But Mike was cramping. Only time he's ever cramped. And usually you don't cramp indoor doubles match with air conditioning. And then
that started the long journey of Mike going gluten-free, sugar-free, air-free, water-free, whatever the other frees you are.
I would say, remember Doc Fareed? He gave us those drinks and he put a lot of creatine in those drinks. And I was pounding those.
Really?
But it was the nerves. I knew if we would have lost that first one, Pat would have said, okay, on to the next doubles team. So, when you're tight, everything tightens up, right?
Yeah.
The muscles, and you burn a lot of energy. But luckily, Bob hit that forehand winner and we finished the match because I was full on. I was like a scarecrow out there. I was
a mannequin. It is true though. Like I've never once in my life cramped. You cramp like at the end of the day, like in bed, your toes cramp or something but I've never cramped in practice ever in my life. But then the nerves and the weight of everything, talk about the nerves for most, and I'll put a button on what you guys just said. I remember having a conversation with Patrick and he was like, what do you think about, I'm like, well, one, the clarity provided as like a singles player of knowing the cadence of your week is like invaluable. But I also said, let's not think of it on like a match by match basis. Like, can we get through this with the insurance policy and throw Marty in, who's, very, very capable doubles player, with someone else and get through? Yeah, probably. But what is our best chance to win this whole thing? And that's the easiest conversation that's ever been had. It's with Bob and Mike. What are we doing? Of course it's with them, and there is an element of risk, but my argument was I think it's riskier not to have them. I think it's riskier not to have them. So if we're going to talk about risk, I think they win on both sides of it.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're happy that Pat made that selection.
Yeah.
That you had that opinion because those matches are the ones remember, we're 4 or 5 years into retirement. And those are the ones that still give us those chills, win or lose. We had some tough losses, Andy. You did too. We all felt that bitter taste in our mouth, and those are the ones that keep you up at night. But it's really those emotions that I'm trying to kind of convey to the next generation. The guys that are on the fence about Davis Cup. Guys, these are the ones that you're gonna really remember when it's all said and done.
Yeah.